Welcome to my new podcast in English. My name is Armelle Bontemps. I will be your host for today and more. I am so happy to welcome here amazing speakers, game changers, life lovers. Here you will be able to open yourself to more knowledge, more power. You will connect to the truth that you are and explore different levels of the reality we live in. I believe in the experience of life, in love, relationships, beauty. Please do not hesitate to share this episode if you loved it. Thank you for listening and thank you for your presence. Hi, Melissa. I'm so glad that you're here for this episode together. We were just saying before we record this podcast that it feels so normal, like we've been knowing each other for a while, forever maybe. Different lives, probably. We're going to talk about many things today because, like I said, you are the person of course, I had in mind for this subject on mediumship, on the spirit world, because there is so much to say. And just to introduce you a little bit, because I've been following you for a while. I've been participating in a few of your containers. I've been following you in different topics. And yes, I love your work. I love what you share. I love the way you share it, and it feels so. It feels so, like simple. Like you have this ability to just explain complex topics in a very few simple words, and that's what I love about your work, because I love simple things in a way that everybody can understand, because it's for everybody. It's everybody can access this knowledge, and that's what I love about your work mostly. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that.
You're welcome. This is really what I feel. It's profound, simple, and we feel this authenticity in your words also. So we're going to talk about many things. Just before we start, you live in New Zealand. You are a mom. Yes. You have 3 kids? 2 kids?
Three.
Oh.
3 kids.
3 kids. The funny story is that your mom is French, but you were born in New Zealand, or you were born in France? No, you were born.
I was born in Paris. So we moved to New Zealand when I was 9. And I, of course, grew up in French. So bonjour tout le monde who is, of course, listening, the French listeners. We're doing this in English because my French is very rusty. And if we understand as well language development, I only have French basics of like a 9-year-old. So to have these complex conversations, I just don't have the vocabulary. But yeah, we moved here when I was 9. I couldn't speak a word of English. So all I could say was, my name is, and I don't understand. And so I definitely know what it's like to be in a country where you have no idea what's going on, what anyone else is saying, and kind of like being a little bit of an alien, really.
Yeah, it's crazy story, because when I contacted you, I had no idea you were French, or you were born in French with a French mama, and that you moved to New Zealand. And it's funny because you replied in French, and there was a very cute French, like the French of a person who doesn't live in France anymore. And I was like, oh, this is so cute. And at the same time, I feel that you're French, but most of your life is here. Well, your life is in New Zealand, so it's very interesting, because I couldn't help but thinking about my own daughter who was born in Costa Rica, and she's gonna grow up here, but I don't know how many years we're gonna stay here. But anyway, it reminded me of my own story with my daughter, and I could just feel so many different how can I say, different lives, different perspectives, and different Yes. So your background is very interesting for that, I think. And
Yeah.
also, of course, we're going to talk today about mediumship. We're going to talk about the spirit world, and you present yourself as an ascension medium. A few words on that. What do you mean by this these words?
Yeah, so interesting, right? I want to just go back to being French for a second and tie it back to being a medium. So my whole life, I have felt like I didn't belong and that I didn't really fit into this human experience. And I grew up Catholic and I was just like, oh, I don't relate to any of this stuff. Like, why do we have to hate each other? All this stuff. And as the divine does puts people in your path, and a friend told me that this is what I was. I was a psychic, I was a medium. I was like, oh no. To me, it really made sense as to why I became bilingual. And I really believe one of the reasons I am I'm going to own it, a phenomenal medium is because I am able to speak those multiple languages and able to differentiate in a way how the spirit realm works. And on my journey, I've been a practicing medium for 12 years. So I've been working as a intuitive, as a medium, as a teacher, because I teach the stuff for 12 years. It's incredible. I started doing this in 2012, which is no surprise, right? When we had the shift in consciousness started to happen. And my journey has led me to this true understanding of what mediumship is. And I've never seen anybody talk about mediumship the way that I do. I've never really seen anyone talk about the depth of mediumship in the way that I do. And that's because I have also understood the level of consciousness that we call Christ consciousness, source consciousness, and have been able to weave it all together. And so I was actually, the media in New Zealand called me New Zealand's modern medium because I brought this aspect of mediumship that had never been seen before. And as well, I was very young, and most people are really old, when they do this. So I was like this young modern chick. And so the ascension medium part of it is because I give you the full spectrum. I give you the whole experience of what mediumship really is for. And I know we're going to dive into that. And so with mediumship, it's actually here to help us ascend. It's here to give us the ability to navigate not just this physical reality that we're living in here, but actually the existence and what this whole thing is all about. And so that's why this year it came in. My guides were like, boom, here you go. You're an ascension medium. And I was like, great. Thank you so much. I love this title. And I feel it just encompasses everything that I do, because I was always like, I want to talk about consciousness because I get that. And I want to talk about mediumship and I want to talk about this. And I don't know how to make it all fit together. And I speak light language, I do all the things. So this just was my journey. It's taken 12 years to get here. So I want to say to anybody listening, like, it didn't happen overnight for me. It actually took lifetimes to get here, to know what I know and to be able to share it so authentically with the world. And it's incremental. So this is the evolution right now. I'm sure it will evolve again. So that's what we're all here for, right? Is our own divine evolution.
Yeah, I think that's what I love also in your work, that you are able to combine, what we call this Christ consciousness that we share, because I know we have the same, not quite the same, but we share this understanding of consciousness, and I always found that very difficult, maybe in a sense, to combine everything all at once. Like, okay, if you talk about mediumship, or if you talk about Christ consciousness, or if you talk about light language, for example, if you talk about the quantum field, if you talk about all the subjects that are actually one altogether, but it seems so separate from, each other. It's hard sometimes to just be able to work with everything all at once and realize that everything is a part of everything, because it's the whole. It's what makes this existence so perfect and so full and so done, finished completely. So I think that's how you also connect all the points together and are able to talk to a large amount of people too, because you can connect in different perspectives, and they all come to this. I think what I feel about your work and what you say, they all converge to this one point of, okay, let's grow this consciousness that we already are, in a way, completely.
Yeah. And I honestly, I love this work. And no matter, I feel, where we start on our spiritual journey, right? No matter, or our awakening, because even spiritual journey, I don't even know if that's really a thing, right? On our own awakening to self. And I really believe, our purpose is to really come home to the truth of what we are, not who we are, but what we are, because the human world and the 3D world, the way that it's been shaped, has been to disalign us from truth. And what I've been able to do in my work is I've been able to bring all of the pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah.
And it's taken a long time to get here, right? But I do believe I'm your one-stop shop. I've got it all. And my magic is that I'm able to extract that out of you. Yes, I use the modality of mediumship, but I'm also very intuitive. I have a really good understanding of consciousness and everything. And, I know we're going to talk about the spirit world, but I'm going to throw like a little bit of a little spanner in the works. There's actually no spirit world. There's no realms. Like, we're all existing in this nothingness really of it all. And that's what I teach, is like, who and what are you when you strip it all away? When you strip everything away, when you let go of identities and beliefs that you've been shaped with as human life, that's what we are. And our loved ones in the spirit realm, they're guiding us towards that. They usually are the first point of experience to the divine, right? So I'm sure everyone listening has had a loved one pass at some point in their life. And then what tends to happen is we start to go, oh, wait a minute, they're not physically here anymore. So where are they? And we start to question. This is when we start to, awaken to something. Maybe there's more to earth. Because before that, we're all walking about like happy little humans, like Smurfs. La, 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 la. We're just like human doing human things. And then we have this tragedy happen, and it awakens like the soul remembrance in us. It goes, yes, you're not just this human, you're actually this soul, this being, this universe, this source, this God. And the passing of our loved ones is the greatest gift that we actually have, because it starts this remembrance in us. Now, most people will stay in the grief. They will live miserable. My loved one's not here anymore. I don't know what to do. Life sucks. The universe is punishing me. But we're supposed to use grief to lead us to ascension. Ascension meaning to rise in consciousness, to rise from that 3D consciousness, the ego mind, to 5D consciousness, which is source, being one with it all. We are everything and we are nothing all at the same time. And so our loved ones tend to be the first kind of beings that we kind of connect with, because they're familiar. They're people we know. Like, you can sit here and go, I'm connecting with Archangel, blah, blah, blah. But have you ever met Archangel, blah, blah, blah? Like, let's just not say blah, blah. Let's say like Archangel Michael, right? Have you actually met Archangel Michael? How do you know it's Archangel Michael, right? So the reason I say we start with mediumship is to become familiar with the energy of spirit and what spirit feels like, and developing all of the skills and the muscles of how to interpret consciousness, so that we can, of course, then work with our spirit guides and cosmic beings and God and all these other consciousnesses. So that's kind of why I see that mediumship is the most powerful thing that we can actually do on earth.
Yeah. It's so...
I know I said a lot, right?
No, it's so profound and interesting. It's always the same process. It's about separating things from each other and realizing they are always one. And why are we just like splitting ourselves to just look from a different perspective and just realize, oh, okay, there is this dimension and this dimension. And also I realized there is actually no realms, no dimensions. And we are everything and nothing at once. And we are more than every perception, every ego mind. You talk about the ego mind. We are more to that we can just perceive as human beings. And I agree on this view that you have on death, because it's maybe not only death, but like a major event in your life that's gonna question yourself about, okay, so what's the purpose of everything? What's the purpose of this life? Okay, where am I going in this? And of course, there is many answers we can find on the way, because everything just goes for me in the same direction of this consciousness. Okay, I realize that I am source, and we can take different roads on the way.
Yeah. And I feel like the next level of it, and this is why, I've called myself an ascension medium, is there's a difference between just knowing and embodying it. So we can all be like, okay, sure, I am God. And when I reference God, I'm not talking about like this guy in the sky. I'm talking about the source of creation, divine intelligence, the stream of consciousness. And I talk about how we are light, love, and sound vibration. When we talk about what is consciousness, what is energy, what is the etheric, because when we leave our physical bodies, we don't actually die. So I don't talk to dead people. All the people I talk to are very much alive, right? The only thing that dies is the physical body, but we're not actually dead. No one actually ever dies per se. And so we return to being etheric being the energy that is in the universe when it's not in physical form. And that is light, love, and sound. And when we are that, we are, of course, the purest thing that we can be. And the reason we come into physical bodies is we want to experience ourselves as this energy. And so when we understand that, okay, we can kind of go, okay, I know that I am the universe. Great. But there's a difference between embodying being the universe. So embodying that is actually the beingness of it. So you knowing that 1 + 1 is 2 is great. But when you are being that wholeness, it's a whole different game. And that's when it shifts. That's when the reality that we are experiencing no longer becomes about suffering and fear and scarcity and powerlessness and unworthiness and all of the things that, of course, human life, it makes us experience. And I love that you did talk about the separation. Is this human matrix is created for us to feel separate, for us to have this identity that I am this person and you are this person. This is a tree, this is a cat, so on and so forth. And so we are separate. We create these beliefs, we create these identities. When our loved ones pass into the spirit realm, we go, I'm on earth, they're over there. There is no over there. It's all here, right now, like with us. And so the work that I do is to dissolve all separation. And I believe, well, I don't necessarily believe anything, but what I know is that it's incremental. There's so many layers to it, because all we're really doing is we're unlearning everything we've ever been told or made to believe about ourselves. And that can take time. And that's why it's incremental and it's in layers. And this is why people will come across different people and they'll be like, oh, I really like that about that person. It opens them up to this level of consciousness. Then they're ready for the next level of consciousness, and then the next level and the next level. And the work is never done. Like, we don't just
no levels.
well, yeah, new level, new devil. But I think we should change that to like new level, new experience, right?
Yeah.
But it's like the work is never done. We don't just go, okay, I'm done, and then that's it. Like, there's always so much more embodiment that we get to experience. There's so much more abundance that we get to experience. I always kind of think, does God just go, well, I made a few planets, I'm done? No, it keeps going, right? It keeps creating more galaxies and cosmoses and universes, and it keeps going and it keeps going, because there's always more that can be experienced. And so when we can dissolve all separation, that is true freedom. And they don't want us to have freedom. They want us to be enslaved, which is what humanity is, until we awaken and ascend.
Yeah. It's very, very intense, because you realize that, like you said, it's not about going anywhere. Like you were talking about the people going into this new experience of death that we call death here, but nothing really dies, because it's only a perception, only an illusion of the self, and only an illusion of the separation. So we can just open up to this new reality that we're not moving anywhere, we're not going anywhere, we're not alive or dead, we're just like, we exist. And it's beyond this illusion of being there and being thrown away in theirs, and being able to communicate with a world that is far away from us. So yes, it's, for me, it's the same feeling that you shared. It's okay, we remove all the filters and we can get closer to this fullness, to this beingness.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful when you meet yourself for what you are. It's kind of like, part of me got so angry. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I was so mad. I was like, how has humanity been robbed of this? How have we been so manipulated and coerced into this false identity, and actually being robbed of the human experience that we actually get to have as sovereign beings? And so this is why I'm so passionate about what I do. I want to, help awaken and ascend as many people as I can. And I do that by, of course, bridging the unseen realms, because the unseen realm is actually the truth. What we see with our eyes, that's an illusion. All of it is a lie. And yes, it feels very real. Yes, it's kind of like the mind goes, but no, it's not. How could it be? Right. But this isn't the reality. This is an experience. We're in a simulation right now. And this is why connecting with the divine, when you really break it down, because I know your people can handle this, is when we're connecting with spirit, when we're connecting with being, when we're doing anything, we're actually connecting with ourselves, because we are it all. So I always kind of think of it as, the ocean. You're not a drop in the ocean, you're the ocean in the drop, because we are an individualization of source, but we are source. Every part of us is each other. And that's what I love about the spirit realm, is when you connect with them, you're reminded of what you are, and you become unstoppable. You become invincible. You become so, how could I explain? I want to say like filled up with the energy of what we are, that you can start to see beyond this matrix that we're living in. And for me, working with the divine has saved my life. You know, there's been so many narratives that have been put out on planet Earth. And I just kind of feel so blessed that I took the time to develop the skills inside of me to actually connect to truth, as opposed to being told what to believe and what to do.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I think it's the journey, and we talked. You know, like since we've been talking, actually everything is mixing with every aspect of life, because we've been talking about mediumship, about society, about God, about Christ consciousness, about death. And actually I wanted to, ask you questions on different topics, and I realized there are topics, because we are actually going in every directions. So yeah. And
But feel free to ask me the questions, because I know you've got some very interesting questions.
yes, but they are here, and you've been answering most of them, because everything is connected. I think we're gonna have a little break, because I have a baby to feed, and we'll be back to just deep dive, maybe a little bit more into mediumship, about Christ consciousness, if you want to talk about it, and maybe your view also on death and suicide, because it's something that you talked a lot in your containers, that I feel it's very interesting if you are okay to talk about this.
Of course.
I think it's maybe a subject that is very interesting for people listening, and understanding a bit better.
I would love that.
Perfect.
See you soon.
See you soon. And we're back. Thank you, Melissa.
So welcome.
Yeah, this is so good to talk to you. There are so many things, and a lot of energy. It's like you just come with this massive flow of energy, and wow. And I feel, yeah, I can feel that very, very much, which is beautiful. So yeah, we talked about different subjects, and like I said, it's so funny how we can connect everything together. And all the question I wanted to ask you about mediumship and the spirit world, and actually I think people are still scared a little bit about this word, being a medium, and talking about spirits and entities. And why do you think people are so scared and are afraid to use those terms and to even think about it?
I love this question, and I will do my best to answer it as quickly and as short as I can. But it's one of my favorite things to talk about, because this all comes down to human programming. And there are currently people on Earth that are trying to eradicate humanity. And this has been going on for a very, 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 very long time. And there's kind of been a process that's been happening to it. And so along the way, because if we look at ancient civilizations, if we look at how the ancient Greeks, ancient Egyptians, if even we go back to Atlantis and Lemuria, we look at the connection that we had with the divine. There was always in communication, always it was a part of our lives. The gods, deities, all of that kind of stuff was part of our everyday existence. And we had no separation. We knew, especially in, Lemurian Atlantis, we actually, would travel between the realms quite easily. Of course, now being in physical, we don't do that as much, only in astral ways. But the narrative started to change when they brought in religion. And religion, as much as it's so beautiful, was a way to control the population. It was a way for teachings that were so beautiful to be misrepresented, misunderstood, to fit a certain narrative. Mostly the narrative is not to communicate with spirit. Right? Because if we communicate with spirit and we know what we are, then we can't be enslaved. Because it just would make no sense for us to be like, well, I'm spirit, I'm this infinite being, I am so powerful and there's so much potential and I can experience anything. So why would I then need to listen to you?
It can't be controlled. Yeah.
Exactly. So the narrative started to change and beliefs were put in place. If you look at all the wars and anything kind of going on, I always say follow the money, right? Follow the trail, follow the money. They're all just things to distract us so that we forget to do the work on ascension, on awakening. And so the reason people are so afraid to connect with spirit is because it's been deemed taboo and wrong and bad because of how powerful it is. It's so powerful to connect with the divine because you are spirit. You're connecting with the infinite source of who you are. And if we have access to that, right, then they can't control us. And so the narrative was spun in this way to stop humanity from doing the work. And the clock is ticking because Earth will ascend in 2033. So I look at it as 2012 to 2022 were the decades of awakening. 2023 to 2033 are the decades of ascension when we're rising in consciousness. And so I want to also just say in all of this is we are spirit. When our physical body no longer is on planet Earth, we will again be in this etheric form. So all we've really been taught is to be afraid of ourselves.
Yeah.
To be afraid of our own power and our own truth and our own potential and our own wisdom. We've been dumbed down to be sheep of sheeps. And that's why I'm here making mediumship the norm, which is of course the name of my podcast, right? I know you listen to that. And changing this narrative, making talking with spirit just as natural as it is, you and I having a conversation. Because it totally is. And I would trust spirit over any other human on planet Earth, first and foremost.
Yeah. And do you have any advice maybe for people who want to connect to the spirit world and they don't know how to start, and how do we talk to them?
It's so easy. It's so easy. Listen to my podcast. I've got lots on there, right? But it's so it's just opening up a conversation where we kind of go, okay, I call this the blending. We blend with spirit and we just ask our loved ones, whether it's our grandparents, a partner, whether it's a child, whether it's our parents, whoever it might be, could be our dog. And we just call them in and we go, okay, I don't have a mum in spirit, but let's just say I'm calling in my great grandmother. And I would be like, okay, come and be with me. And I call this blend when your energy and their energy merge as one, right? So it's like if you bring your hands together and you interlock your fingers, then it's like this energy of becoming one. And blending with spirit, anybody can do. It's so easy. We're all mediums. No one can't be a medium. It's just impossible. And so when we blend, it's just becoming familiar with that energy. And then what happens is we kind of go, oh, wait a minute. I'm that energy because I've been feeling this energy within myself. And so it's a communication. Most people can ask for signs, right? You'll be like, okay, send me a sign. I love that. Signs. I would recommend doing my program Reunited, which is where I take you through the whole journey of mediumship, but also oracle cards are great. I actually created my own set of oracle cards, the Whispers from Above cards, which are all mediumship cards. So that's, oracle cards are great. It's all any form of developing your clear senses. So your clear senses, clairvoyance is the sense of sight. Clairaudience is the sense of hearing. Clairsentience is the sense of feeling. Then we have clairscent, which is the scent of smelling. Clairgustience, which is the scent of tasting. And then we also have claircognience, but this isn't something that we can necessarily develop. This is the sense of just knowing. Like you don't know how you know it, but you just do. Now, I'm an evidential medium, which means I have to give you evidence that it's your grandmother. I can't just go, Armel, your grandmother is here. And you're like, oh my God, yay. Like I would have to describe her and be like, okay, I see her. She looks like this and her personality is like that. And actually give you evidence that it's her. So claircognience doesn't have evidence. It's just this knowing. So when we have all of our senses to helping us, it's just like our physical senses, we have them in our energetic bodies too. And they're constantly working. It's just up to us to develop. And most people are so busy chasing something that they don't take the time to develop this because of how humanity's all been shaped and how spirituality and this new age movement and everything that's kind of happening has also been shaped, and it's kind of blurring things a little bit. And we have to bring it back. It's actually so simple. It's so easy and so simple. We just overcomplicate it because that's what humans do. Yeah. So just a conversation. Listen to the thoughts that come in your head when you speak with them, or you can do journal, ask them questions, and then write what comes. Like there's so many different ways you can do if anybody is listening here, message me, and I have a connecting with spirit meditation, or maybe I'll send it to you. You can put it in the notes wherever. You can just download it, do my meditation where you actually go and meet your loved ones in the spirit realm, and it's so beautiful. So there's just honestly so many ways. There's no one size fits all. And there's no rule.
Yeah. And it's so simple. Like you said, just engage a conversation with them.
It happens, right? Yeah. And at first you might feel a little bit silly. You might be like, okay, I think the biggest myth is when we work with spirit that we expect this huge thing to appear, or for, some kind of magic, right? But it's so subtle and simple. And that's why most people don't even realize that they're already doing it. Yeah. Because every time they come into my programs, they're like, oh, I've been doing this my whole life. I'm like, I know. I know. You just didn't realize that that's what that was.
And what about what we call bad spirits and bad entities? What is your view on that?
It is multi-layered. I'm going to say it in that way. It depends what level of consciousness you're at. Okay. So I'm going to explain it in the sense of, I don't feel that there are actually any bad entities out there. However, I also am trained in the light codes method, which is a light language healing modality from God. Really, that's what it's from. And in that, I do remove a lot of entities. Now, what I do want to say is, so sometimes I'm like, oh, how come I don't believe in entities yet? This is what I do in my work, right? So human consciousness has created entities.
Mm-hmm.
And because we keep this consciousness going, we're keeping the narrative that there are entities alive, if that kind of makes sense. We've actually created entities from our consciousness beliefs, but there actually aren't any bad energies out there. Because if we understand creation, if we understand consciousness, we are light, love, and we are sound. And there is actually no right or wrong, good or bad, better or worse.
Yes.
So it honestly does depend on like where we're at. And a lot of people are afraid to dive into mediumship or intuition or any kind of work because they're like, well, what if I connect with something bad? Right? I'm actually more afraid of humans than I am spirit. Like, I just think like, it's more the humans we have to worry about, not the spirit realm. And so it all comes down to your level of where you're at and understanding consciousness. So if you have a fear about it, of course, you're going to attract that fear to manifest itself.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to attract an energy to be of that same vibration of what you are. So let me just talk a little bit about consciousness so people can understand this. There are 4 levels of consciousness. The first one being life is happening to me, right? Life's happening to me. Oh my gosh, like, I don't know. I have no control over anything, blah, 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 right? That you're mostly probably going to attract negative energy because you don't actually see your own power in anything. The next level of consciousness that happens is life is happening by me. You're like, ooh, I can actually make things happen, right? Oh, this is a bit exciting. Maybe I have a bit more control than I think. So still at this stage, you might have started to, maybe you've have a loved one that's passed over. So you're starting to question things. You're not just like, okay, there's maybe more to it. Then the next level of consciousness, and all of these are still 3D consciousnesses, is life is happening through me. So you're like, okay, I'm a vessel of this, and I'm in co-creation. So there's still a separation because we feel we're co-creating. And it's like, okay, I'm over here, the spirit realm is over there. We're communicating as 2 different beings. Yeah. So here you might probably have more of an idea that, okay, there's different types of beings in the spirit, in the realms. And so that's all 3D until we get to that level of consciousness where it's 5D, where life is happening as me.
Mm-hmm.
And when we are in this, life is happening as me, then we know that there is no separation between us and spirit, that we are all it. So all we're really doing is, it's impossible for us to be connecting with bad entities because then that would mean that we are a bad entity, and that would make no sense. And so when we are in as me, as you said before, very early on, it's like, we're in this motion. There's this divine plan, this is divine order, and all we have to do is really be in it. We actually aren't creating anything. All we're doing is we're experiencing ourselves physically. And no matter how much we actually try and manifest, no matter how much we try and actually do this, I'm not going to say it's pointless, but it's kind of like there's already this beautiful plan for your life. And as soon as you can get out of your own way and step into this consciousness of being as life, that's when you flip the switch. That's when everything changes. And that's what I do in helping you move through these levels of consciousness as an ascension medium, is I go, life's not happening to you, baby. Okay, it's happening as you. Let's get you there. Let's work through the beliefs. Use your loved ones to guide you to this knowing with inside yourself. So I hope that helps a little bit in kind of like answering entities. It really depends on where you're at consciously.
Yeah, it's very clear. It's also my view on this, and the realization I've made in the past few years, because it's all about where you focus your consciousness, and when you just decide to become consciousness, it's completely different. When you look this consciousness from above, or when you are consciousness, and it's pretty much, maybe it's going to be very similar to get an answer on death and suicide, because that's a subject that you also talked a lot in your containers, and I love this subject because it's also very confusing, I think, for people. There is this I feel, for me, this misunderstanding of suicide, seeing as perceived as bad and, harming your life, and entering again the cycle of samsara, or reincarnation again and again, or something, we perceive as a bad thing in life in general. What is your view on suicide?
I want to be really full transparency. My view on suicide has changed the more I've gone on this journey. So in the beginning, like everybody, I used to think that people who committed suicide were bad and selfish and were going to be doomed to hell for the rest of their existence, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe that at all anymore. I want to make it super clear. We're all going to transition to the spirit realm. The only thing is that none of us really know is when and how. Okay? The how it happens actually doesn't matter. The when doesn't actually matter either. And we place so much importance on suicides being really selfish, really, terrible people, when really all of us are going back home per se, right? And whether we do it ourselves, whether someone else does it, whether dis-ease does it, at the end of the day, we're all going to the same place and we're all becoming the same thing. And so I actually feel like suicide just gets such a bad rep because of what it creates for the humans that are left behind. And it's in our own selfishness as humans that we've created this narrative that this is something that is so wrong and so bad. And how could they do this? They're going to have this karma to replay. I don't believe in karma. Same thing again, depending on what level of consciousness you're at, karma will be a thing or not. All right. So to me, suicides are beautiful people who have chosen to go, my time on earth is done. I'm good. Beam me up. Let's go. That's it. Sure, the aftermath can be hard, but what we have to understand is everything is already predestined. How you're going to pass has already been predestined with your soul families, because we all are part of our own big soul families. And before we came into our physical bodies, decided, okay, you're going to be the mom, you're going to be the sister, you're going to be this, you're going to die this way because that's going to make this person find themselves or go on their life's mission of doing this or whatever. So everything is serving a purpose. If somebody has passed through suicide, it's because that was organized for it to happen that way, for the domino effect of what's going to happen for those on planet Earth and their lessons, their healing, their own ascension, their mission, and everything that's going to unfold. So we can't judge a passing. We can't make one passing more better or worse than another. It's just we're all leaving this physical vessel one way or another, whether it's on our terms or not. What difference does it make for us choosing to be euthanized? Is that the word? Is that what it's called? What difference is it? Right? Yeah, I don't know if that's how I answered it in the group that we were in, but
pretty much
change the narrative. Let's just stop saying this shit that is just nonsense.
Yeah, it creates a lot of guilt and a lot of resentment, and I feel it's a very heavy subject that is very important to talk about, because you can't judge death the way we judge it in a human perspective. So,
No.
yeah.
And, Ahmed, I connect with a lot of people who commit suicide because that was my journey for 20 years. From the age of 9 to 29, I wanted to commit suicide. I've been through so much abuse in my life and all the things. And I just didn't want to be on earth. And so I understand the journey. I understand what someone has gone through, and I can pick it up straight away. I can tell whether it's something that the person in spirit battled with, or whether it was just like a spur of the moment kind of thing. Like, I really understand the journey. And often they have such beautiful messages to pass on. And, what a sacrifice in a way, isn't it? That they've made for the people on earth to be activated to making the most out of life, to appreciate the people that they have around them, right? When something like that happens, when a mother has a baby pass, when we have somebody, who's committed suicide, it changes the perspective of life. And that's why they went into spirit, to wake you the fuck up, to go, wait a minute, how I've been living my life is actually not how life is meant to be lived. And I've got to make something of myself. I've got to discover, I've got to fulfill this mission, this purpose inside of me. And isn't that the greatest gift that we've been given? I know it hurts. I know we would do anything to change it, but we actually can't. We cannot torture ourselves with the what ifs, because it's not going to change anything. You can't bring people back. We can't change the outcomes. We can shift timelines, yes, but we actually can't change how it's going to happen, whether it's like somebody passes in an accident or whatever, and we should have gone, I should have picked them up. Like, it's not going to change anything. So we're torturing ourselves with stuff that's really unnecessary, and we're missing the whole point of what them being in the spirit realm is for. And that is to really guide us to discover what we are, so we can live as these incredible sovereign beings here on earth, maximizing all of the bounty and abundance and richness that's on earth to experience ourselves.
Yeah, it's exactly what I feel. And it's also very important to realize that everything is perfect, in the sense that perfection is already done, and in perfection everything exists, and life and death are just like movements in this experience, in this existence, and then they must exist to complete the creation, the perfection of this creation. And actually, I think it's when Christ consciousness arrives, it's when you realize that everything is actually perfect, and you don't want to change the game inside, like the way the human mind, the ego mind, like you say, want to change it. We don't want to change the game, and we can't change the game. We can only have the illusion to change it, but we need to leave the game we created for us. And from the human side, we can't change the rules. But when we realize this consciousness, this first level of consciousness that you talk about, which is also the Christ and Christ consciousness, we have this rise of Christ consciousness lately in the world, which is so beautiful to see, because we are it. And you realize actually that everything is perfect, and you made perfection available for you to experience. And then you just surrender to every part of your life, and that's how you get into this level of consciousness, if we can call it a level. But that's how we get to the pure presence of as life, like you said earlier.
And even in that, there are so many different layers to it. It's like, I always talk about incremental upgrades, incremental shifts. And a lot of the work that I do, sometimes things don't become apparent till later, because when we're shifting our internal reality so that it shifts the external reality, sometimes it's not as easy as, going, I had 100K month, right? That's a validation of it. But the work, it's so layered when it comes to unlearning all of these beliefs. And you think, I've done it, I've released it, I get so many people say to me, how much more personal development do I need to do? I'm like, babes, it's just, you just think of how long you've been alive and how long human consciousness has been going in this way, and how deep it really is. And we just keep going and going. And that's why our loved ones in the spirit realm, their role, or our spirit guides, or any of these beautiful beings that are with us here, who I really want to acknowledge. Thank you for all being here and supporting this beautiful divine conversation, and for it all to be received from the listeners, is they're continuously here guiding us to find ourselves, and they're leading us in love. When you connect with a loved one in spirit, there's only love. They don't tell us off. They don't, well, they might in a cheeky way tell us off, right? But they're not there telling us, you suck. You may as well just jump off a cliff. Like, it's always, you can do it. You've got this. You're amazing. Remember what you are. Like, it's so empowering. I'm like, how could you not want to connect with your loved ones in spirit? Because it's like that instant feel good, that instant boost, rather than looking at your Facebook and then being like, oh, I don't have what this person had. And it's like, we live in this whole comparison game. But when we actually connect with spirit, we realize there's nothing ever to compare ourselves to, because we are so perfect and so divine and so worthy and so incredible. And I really, see that if everybody was able to do this, which they are, but if everybody chose to be able to connect with the spirit realm, we would have such a beautiful world, which we did when we look at the incarnation of Lemuria and Atlantis before it fell, before the fall of Atlantis. And that's what happens when you start to create this power of, well, I'm better than you, or I'm more than you. And then you start to create this hierarchy. And all we really, want to do, and I know you and I, we're both on planet Earth to do this, is we want to help every single human to thrive and to feel that they belong on this beautiful earth that we are in, and that we each get to experience the bounty that earth has for us. And I know we are doing that work, and I've just been able to do that with the guidance of the spirit realm, and I feel really honored and blessed to do so.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your words. Any messages from the spirit world for us today?
Well, I kind of felt like I wanted to channel some light language, because of course light language is going to awaken the codes inside of you for ascension. So I want everybody to just, is this also on video? Can people see me as well? Great. If you're watching the audio, amazing. Close your eyes and just fully take it all in. So light language is the language of the soul. I teach this in my program Reunited, because connecting with the divine actually doesn't speak French or English. Funnily enough, right? The universe actually speaks in codes, and that is why light language is the language of the soul, which means it is the language of source. It is the language of the universe. And so allow yourself to receive everything that I'm transmitting to you. If you're watching, of course, the video, pay attention to my hands. So keep your eyes open, and that way you can also receive the light codes, which is what I bring through the energy through my hands. So let's take a nice collective breath, everybody. And we're just going to set the intention for us to receive these beautiful codes that are going to activate us to the knowing and the trust of the divine guidance that we receive from our loved ones in the spirit realm and those that are part of our team of light, so that we may release all illusions from our field and to step into our fullness as beautiful sovereign beings here on earth. And of course, it is done, my loves. So let's go. Let's allow this channeling to happen. E noro no kroto e nei shoro tukuto e nei naratata e noro tukuto e nei shoro to e ratai kroto e nei narata e noro no e narata koto e arshakatate naranai roto e naranai oro no e naranai koroto e nei. And I want everybody to just invoke the energy of your loved ones in the spirit realm. Feel them in your heart. Feel this beautiful energy expanding in your heart as you feel your own essence, as you bring them into your field. E noro no koronoi shi tarata kotoe inaranai irite korotoe inaratata neorotoe e shara ora ne ara ewa naranoi e koronoi shina e korotoe ina e noronoi. And I want you to feel how loved and how blessed and guided you truly are, that you are fully supported on this earth mission that you are on, knowing that you are a beautiful, divine, sovereign being, and that your loved ones in the spirit realm are here to really remind you of your greatness, your fullest potential, and the power that is within you. E korotoe ne naranai rotoe ishe karatai ne rotoe asha nai oro noe akarane ne norne tortoe ina ne e naratoi inaratai e korotoi shinaranae araki naranae araki naranae araki ananae. And now take a nice deep breath, being in full gratitude of this beautiful connection that you get to have from here on in. So beautiful. Thank you, my loves. Thank you for this, allowing this transmission to be felt and received. It is such an honor to share this sacred medicine with all of you. So
Thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your words, for your magical presence and embodiment of this divine. Any projects going on for you right now? Anything you want to share before we leave each other?
Well, I would say I always have things going on. So it really depends on when you're watching this, right? So one of the things, if you truly want to develop your skills, not just in mediumship, but in all the things intuitive, being able to find that, my signature program Reunited is the place to start. I also have my Oracle membership, which is like, I would say everybody come into the Oracle membership because you're immersed in my world every single week. And it's just a beautiful place to be if you want to receive light language and all the things that I do. But of course, check me out on the socials and see what I've got that resonates with you. And, my mission is to make mediumship the norm. So my hashtag, if you do want to tag me in anything, or is of course making mediumship the norm so that we can truly rise and ascend humanity. So yeah, depending on when you're watching, depends on what I got. So come and find me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Melissa. It's been a pleasure to have you here.
Merci, Armel. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful, blessed life. And if I can say, the saying is, remember that you are a gift to the world, and together we awaken, together we align, and together we ascend.
Thank you. À bientôt.
À bientôt.